Benedict Arnold had always been a man of action, but as the war dragged on, frustration began to shadow his courage. He had risked his life countless times, yet recognition and reward were slow to come. His victories were celebrated by others, and the praise he felt he deserved often went elsewhere. Bills and debts piled up, and the hardships of war weighed heavily on him. Each delay in acknowledgement, each slight from Congress, chipped away at his loyalty. The man who once inspired soldiers now began to question whether his sacrifices were truly valued. Arnold's personal life added to the complexity. Peggy Shippen, his young and clever wife, had connections and insights that brought him into closer contact with the British. Their life together, filled with charm and influence, made him more aware of options beyond the American cause. He saw a path where wealth, position, and appreciation were within reach, a life free from constant struggle. Though he still cared for his country, the appeal of security and recognition tugged at him more each day. The British reached out, offering rank, pay, and a chance to escape the burdens that seemed endless in the Continental Army. At first, Arnold resisted. He knew the cost of betrayal, yet his anger at being overlooked made the temptation grow stronger. He felt trapped between his ambitions and his sense of duty, a conflict that few could understand. The letters and secret communications began, carefully coded and cautious, moving him toward a decision that would change history. West Point became the center of his plot. Arnold knew the fort's fall would give the British control of the Hudson River and strike a devastating blow to the American cause. He balanced appearances perfectly, walking among his soldiers as if nothing had changed, while secretly arranging the fort's surrender. Every plan, every step, was calculated. Fear of exposure and the consequences of discovery weighed on him constantly, but he pressed forward, convinced that the benefits of betrayal outweighed the risk. Yet secrecy is fragile. Major John Andre, the British officer carrying critical documents, was captured. The evidence revealed Arnold's plot in full. Panic set in. Arnold fled to a British ship just in time, leaving behind the shock, betrayal, and heartbreak of those who had trusted him. Andre was executed, a tragic consequence of the plan Arnold had set in motion. The soldiers who once cheered his name now whispered it with contempt. Arnold's life after the betrayal was marked by exile and dissatisfaction. Even among the British, respect was fleeting, and he could not escape the shadow of his choices. His story serves as a warning that ambition unchecked by honor and loyalty can destroy not just reputation, but the trust of an entire nation. Courage alone is not enough. The decisions a person makes define their legacy, and betrayal leaves a mark that time cannot erase. Arnold's plan to betray America was set into motion with careful precision. He had chosen West Point, a fort of critical strategic importance, as the key to handing control to the British. Every detail was arranged in secret, from messages to meeting points, and he moved among his soldiers as if nothing were wrong. The weight of what he was doing pressed on him constantly, but ambition and frustration pushed him forward. He believed the rewards offered by the British would finally give him the recognition he felt he deserved. Major John Andre, the British officer coordinating with Arnold, acted with great caution. Messages passed between them in coded form, each one a step toward disaster for the American cause. Arnold balanced appearances carefully, maintaining trust with his men while secretly planning betrayal. Every day brought risk, and the tension of living a double life consumed him. One wrong move could mean exposure and ruin. The moment of reckoning came when Andre was captured by American soldiers while carrying papers that fully revealed Arnold's plot. The documents detailed how West Point could be surrendered, leaving the Americans shocked and enraged. Arnold learned immediately that his plans were compromised. Panic and urgency drove him to flee, narrowly escaping capture. His soldiers, once loyal to him, could only watch in disbelief as the man they admired became a traitor. The consequences were swift. Andre was tried and executed, the cost of the betrayal falling directly on him. Arnold, though safe, found no lasting satisfaction even among the British. He had achieved the betrayal, but at the cost of honor, trust, and his reputation. The Americans viewed him with anger and contempt, and his name became a symbol of treachery, remembered as a warning of how ambition unchecked by loyalty can destroy a life. Arnold's new life among the British was not fulfilling. Though he held rank and received some reward, he could never escape the shadow of his actions. He lived isolated, unable to regain the respect he had once commanded. The story of his choices became a lesson in the high cost of betrayal. Soldiers, families, and the nation learned that even great courage cannot redeem dishonor. Decisions define legacy, and treachery leaves a permanent mark. The betrayal also served as a reminder of vigilance and sacrifice for the American cause. The failure of one man could have changed the course of the revolution, but courage, loyalty, and quick action from others preserved the nation. Arnold's story, remembered for both heroism and betrayal, teaches that true greatness comes from integrity as much as from bravery. The choices a person makes can uplift a nation or shatter trust, and history remembers the consequences without mercy. In the end, the lesson is clear: ambition without principle leads to ruin, and betrayal echoes far beyond the battlefield. True honor lies in loyalty, and freedom demands sacrifice, but betrayal leaves a mark that time cannot erase. The moment Arnold fled to the British, the full weight of his betrayal began to unfold. Americans everywhere felt the shock and anger of his actions. Soldiers who had once trusted him struggled to understand how the hero they had fought beside could turn against them. His name became a symbol of treachery, whispered in fear and contempt. Families shared the story as a lesson in loyalty and the dangers of ambition unchecked by honor. The betrayal cut deep, leaving wounds that could not be easily healed. Arnold's new life among the British offered him security and position, but it was hollow. Respect was limited, and admiration he had once known was replaced with suspicion and distance. His actions had brought him wealth and temporary rank, but at the cost of friendship, trust, and lasting legacy. No one forgot the price of his betrayal, and even those who had once admired his skill and courage now saw him only as a cautionary tale. The execution of Major John André added further weight to the story. André had been loyal, brave, and careful, yet he paid the ultimate price for Arnold's choices. His death reminded everyone that the consequences of betrayal were real and harsh. It also highlighted the bravery of those who uncovered the plot and acted to protect the revolution. Even in the midst of treachery, courage and vigilance prevailed. Arnold himself lived with constant reminders of what he had lost. His exile, though safe, was lonely and unfulfilling. He could not regain the trust of the people he had once led, nor could he escape the shadow of his own name. The glory and admiration he had sought through betrayal never came, and he faced the rest of his life marked by dishonor. His story became a warning that ambition without principle destroys not only a man's reputation but also the bonds that hold a society together. Across America, the story of Benedict Arnold became a lesson in loyalty, courage, and moral integrity. Leaders, soldiers, and citizens learned that true heroism is measured not only by bravery on the battlefield but also by fidelity to ideals and principles. Betrayal may seem rewarding in the short term, but it leaves a permanent scar on one's life and legacy. Families and future generations would remember Arnold not for his victories, but for the cost of turning against the cause he once defended. In the end, the story of Benedict Arnold teaches a clear moral: courage without integrity is meaningless. Loyalty and honor matter as much as skill and bravery. The choices we make, especially when tested by temptation or frustration, define who we are and how history remembers us. Betrayal leaves a mark that cannot be erased, a lasting reminder that true freedom and respect demand sacrifice and steadfast principle. Arnold's ambition and frustration had pushed him to the edge, but even after fleeing to the British, the consequences of his choices followed him closely. The American soldiers, who had once celebrated his bravery, now viewed him with contempt. His name became a warning, a story told to young soldiers and civilians alike about the dangers of letting personal gain outweigh loyalty. The admiration he had earned through battles was erased in the eyes of his countrymen, replaced by distrust and anger. Even among the British, Arnold found little peace. They gave him rank and money, but respect was limited. He had achieved what he thought would bring him security and honor, yet the hollow victory brought isolation and disappointment. The rewards could not replace the trust he had lost, the friendships he had broken, or the admiration that had once defined him. No matter how carefully he navigated his new life, the shadow of betrayal remained. The capture and execution of Major John André continued to haunt the story. André had followed orders and acted with loyalty, yet he paid the ultimate price. His death underscored the high cost of treachery and highlighted the courage of those who had protected the revolution. Americans were reminded that vigilance, bravery, and principle were as critical to their fight for freedom as any battle on the field. Arnold's actions amplified the heroism of others while permanently staining his own legacy. In exile, Arnold faced the reality of his choices daily. He could never regain the trust of those he had led, nor could he escape the stigma attached to his name. Even with wealth and rank, life lacked meaning. The thrill of ambition and desire for recognition had led to a permanent isolation, proving that betrayal destroys more than just reputation, it erodes the foundation of one's life. Arnold's story spread throughout the colonies and beyond, serving as a stark lesson. Soldiers, leaders, and citizens understood that courage must be paired with integrity. True heroism is measured not only by victories in battle but also by loyalty to principles and to the people who depend on you. Betrayal may offer immediate benefits, but it leaves scars that last forever. Communities remembered his deeds briefly, but his treason overshadowed all past accomplishments. Ultimately, the tale of Benedict Arnold teaches a clear lesson: ambition without principle leads to regret and isolation. Bravery alone cannot define a person, and even extraordinary skill cannot overcome dishonor. Choices made in moments of temptation or frustration leave permanent marks, shaping not only individual legacy but also the lessons history passes to future generations. Freedom demands sacrifice, loyalty ensures trust, and betrayal leaves a shadow that no reward can erase. West Point was the center of Arnold's plan, and every detail had been carefully prepared. He knew the fort's location was vital for controlling the Hudson River, and if it fell, the British could split the colonies and cripple the revolution. Arnold moved among his soldiers as usual, giving orders and inspecting defenses, all while secretly coordinating with the British. Every message and meeting was hidden, and every choice carried enormous risk. His mind balanced the thrill of ambition with the fear of discovery. Arnold had convinced himself that the British offer of wealth, rank, and security justified the plan. He believed he was finally taking control of a life that had offered him little reward for so much sacrifice. The thrill of secrecy and strategy consumed him, but with each passing day, tension grew. The soldiers around him were unaware that their leader was planning to betray the very cause he had once championed. Major John Andre acted as Arnold's contact, carrying coded messages and coordinating the transfer of West Point to the British. Each step required precision. The success of the plot depended on secrecy, timing, and careful planning. Arnold knew that if anything went wrong, the consequences would be catastrophic. He had calculated the risks, but the pressure of living a double life was relentless. The line between bold strategy and treachery blurred as he moved closer to executing the plan. Despite careful planning, secrecy is fragile. Andre was intercepted by American forces while carrying papers detailing the fort's defenses and the planned surrender. The capture revealed Arnold's plot in full, shocking the American army and threatening to endanger the revolution. Panic set in. Arnold realized the scheme had failed, and he was forced to act quickly. He fled to a British ship, narrowly escaping capture. The soldiers who had trusted him could only watch in disbelief, unable to reconcile the man they had fought beside with the traitor who now left them vulnerable. The fallout was immediate. Andre faced trial and execution, paying the ultimate price for his role in the plot. Arnold, though safe, lost all honor and respect. His reputation among Americans was destroyed, and the story of his betrayal spread quickly. What had begun as ambition and frustration ended in disgrace and isolation. The calculated steps he had taken to gain reward instead brought shame and permanent mistrust. The West Point plot also highlighted the bravery of others. The American soldiers who captured Andre acted swiftly and courageously, preventing disaster and preserving the revolution. Arnold's betrayal, while shocking, ultimately reinforced the importance of loyalty, vigilance, and moral courage. It became a stark reminder that the decisions of one individual could endanger a nation, and that honor and integrity are as vital to success as skill and strategy. In the end, the West Point plot serves as a lesson. Betrayal can come from the most trusted, but courage and loyalty can counter it. Ambition without principle leads to ruin, and even the best plans cannot erase the consequences of dishonesty. History remembers the choices, and the consequences endure far longer than fleeting rewards. Major John Andre had been careful and precise, carrying secret messages between Arnold and the British. Every meeting, every exchange of intelligence was done with extreme caution. He knew that a single mistake could reveal the plot and endanger both their lives. The British relied on his skill, and Arnold depended on his secrecy. The tension of operating in the shadows was intense, and every step had to be calculated. The American spy network, though less visible, worked tirelessly to uncover threats. Their vigilance was quiet but relentless. They monitored movements, intercepted messages, and pieced together information that often went unnoticed by the larger army. It was their dedication and bravery that created the first cracks in Arnold's carefully constructed plan. The spies knew that even a small slip could change the course of the war, and they acted with courage and precision. As André moved through the countryside carrying documents, danger grew with every mile. Soldiers, civilians, and patriots watched and reported suspicious activity, unknowingly closing in on the secret plot. The risk of capture was constant. Arnold's reliance on André was absolute, and André's loyalty and careful execution were critical to the plan's success. The suspense of every passing day added to the pressure, making mistakes more likely, and yet André maintained focus, carrying the correspondence with unwavering commitment. The spy network's effectiveness eventually paid off. André was stopped and questioned, and the documents he carried revealed Arnold's plan in detail. The American patriots acted swiftly, preventing West Point from falling into enemy hands. The capture of André exposed the betrayal, creating shockwaves through the army and the colonies. The careful work of spies, often unnoticed, became the turning point that preserved the revolution. Arnold's reaction to the exposure was immediate. He realized the plan had failed and fled to the British before capture was possible. The trust of his soldiers, the admiration of the army, and his reputation were all destroyed. André, who had acted with loyalty and bravery, faced trial and execution. The consequences of betrayal were clear and immediate, showing the high stakes of secret operations and the cost of disloyalty. This episode highlights the courage and dedication of those who worked quietly to protect the revolution. While Arnold's ambition led him to treachery, the unseen bravery of spies like those who caught André demonstrated that vigilance and moral integrity could counter deceit. Their actions preserved lives, strategy, and the cause of freedom, even in the face of betrayal. In the end, the story of Arnold and André illustrates that secrecy, loyalty, and vigilance shape the outcomes of history. Even carefully planned betrayal can be stopped by courage and attention to detail. The choices of a single individual can endanger a nation, but the steadfast actions of others ensure survival and justice. Integrity and principle, when paired with courage, have the power to overcome treachery, and history remembers both the acts of betrayal and the heroism that counters it. Arnold's betrayal was fully exposed when André was captured, and the consequences were immediate and severe. The Americans acted quickly to prevent West Point from falling, and the soldiers who had trusted Arnold were shocked to learn the truth. The man they had admired and followed was now a traitor. Panic and disbelief spread through the army, and officers struggled to understand how someone so courageous could turn against the cause. The revelation shook morale but also strengthened the determination of the soldiers to protect their nation. Arnold acted fast. Knowing he was discovered, he fled to a British ship before capture could occur. His escape was narrow, leaving behind the fort, his army, and the trust he had once commanded. His departure marked the end of his leadership in the Continental Army and the complete collapse of his reputation among Americans. What had begun as a brilliant military career ended in shame, anger, and heartbreak for those who had once admired him. Major John André, despite his careful planning and loyalty, paid the ultimate price. He was tried and executed as a spy, his death serving as a stark reminder of the risks involved in secret operations. The Americans saw that betrayal carries real consequences, and André's fate underscored the seriousness of Arnold's actions. The contrast between André's bravery and Arnold's self-serving ambition highlighted the moral and human cost of treachery. The capture of André also revealed the importance of vigilance and courage in preserving the revolution. The intelligence network and soldiers who intercepted him acted decisively, preventing disaster and saving countless lives. Arnold's plan, though shocking in its audacity, was ultimately foiled because others acted with dedication, courage, and moral clarity. The failure of the plot demonstrated that even carefully laid schemes could be undone by integrity and determination. Arnold's life after the exposure of his betrayal was marked by isolation and disappointment. He joined the British forces but found no lasting honor or respect. The trust and admiration he had lost could never be regained. Even with the rewards promised by the British, life felt hollow, and his name became synonymous with treason. Americans remembered his courage, but it was forever overshadowed by his disloyalty. The story of Arnold's escape and the exposure of his plot emphasizes that actions have consequences, and betrayal undermines not only personal reputation but the broader cause one serves. While Arnold sought personal gain and recognition, the courage and moral strength of others preserved the nation. The events serve as a lesson that integrity, loyalty, and vigilance are essential in moments of crisis. In the end, the exposure of Arnold's betrayal and his escape remind us that choices define legacy. Courage without honor is fragile, and ambition unchecked by principle can destroy both lives and reputations. History remembers both treachery and those who act to counter it, and the consequences of betrayal leave marks that endure far beyond the battlefield. After Arnold fled to the British, the impact of his betrayal spread quickly across the colonies. Soldiers, families, and leaders alike were shocked and angered. The man who had once been celebrated as a hero was now remembered as a traitor. His reputation, carefully built through courage and victories, was destroyed in a single act of disloyalty. Americans struggled to reconcile the bravery they had admired with the betrayal they now witnessed, and his name became a symbol of treachery for generations. Major John André's execution added further weight to the consequences. Loyal and brave, André had followed orders but was caught carrying Arnold's secret documents. His death reminded everyone that betrayal carries a real and irreversible cost. It also highlighted the courage of those who acted to protect the revolution, showing that integrity and vigilance could prevent disaster even when trust had been broken. The anger and disappointment toward Arnold were widespread. Officers who had fought alongside him were deeply hurt, and soldiers who had admired his leadership felt betrayed. Families and communities told the story of his treachery as a warning about ambition unchecked by principle. His fall became a lesson not just in the loss of honor, but in the danger one individual's choices can pose to an entire nation. Despite joining the British, Arnold's life offered little satisfaction. He had gained rank and some wealth, but respect was scarce, and admiration vanished entirely. The rewards he had hoped for could not replace the trust he had lost or the friendships he had destroyed. Isolation and regret became constant companions, showing that betrayal, even when seemingly rewarded, leaves lasting consequences. The story of Arnold's actions emphasized the importance of loyalty, courage, and integrity. While one man's ambition threatened the revolution, the bravery and vigilance of others preserved it. The soldiers who captured André and prevented West Point from falling demonstrated that even in the face of treachery, courage and moral strength could prevail. Their actions ensured the survival of the cause and prevented what could have been a devastating blow to America. Arnold's betrayal also underscored the fragility of trust. Leadership and skill alone cannot sustain loyalty if principles are ignored. His story became a lasting example of how ambition without ethics can overshadow past achievements and define a person's legacy. Americans remembered the loss of trust more vividly than any battle he had won. In the end, Arnold's fall teaches that personal gain at the expense of loyalty destroys not only reputation but the bonds that hold people and nations together. Courage must be paired with integrity, and ambition without honor can lead to permanent isolation. History remembers both the treachery and the heroism that countered it, offering a clear lesson. True respect and lasting legacy come from loyalty, principle, and courage, not from selfish ambition. Arnold's life in exile with the British was far from what he had imagined. Though he had achieved the betrayal he sought, the rewards were hollow. Rank and money could not replace respect, trust, or honor. Those who had once admired his courage now saw him only as a traitor, and even among the British, admiration was limited. He lived with isolation and disappointment, a man who had sacrificed his legacy for ambition. Every day reminded him of what he had lost. The friendships, loyalty, and admiration he once enjoyed were gone forever. His name, once spoken with pride among American soldiers, was now synonymous with treachery. Even his achievements on the battlefield, which had been significant and courageous, were overshadowed by the single act of betrayal that changed his life. Arnold realized that ambition without principle could destroy even the most brilliant career. The story of André's execution continued to weigh heavily. André had acted with loyalty and courage, yet he paid the ultimate price for Arnold's decisions. His death highlighted the real cost of treachery, reminding everyone that the consequences of betrayal were severe and immediate. The contrast between André's loyalty and Arnold's ambition made the lesson clear: trust and honor are priceless, and betrayal brings lasting consequences. Arnold's exile also showed that material gain cannot replace moral loss. Even with the safety, rank, and rewards the British provided, he could not escape the shadow of his actions. He found himself isolated, respected by few, and remembered by all as a cautionary tale. His story spread through the colonies, becoming a warning about ambition unchecked by ethics. Families and soldiers alike shared the story to teach future generations that courage alone is not enough if loyalty is abandoned. The Americans, meanwhile, learned valuable lessons from Arnold's betrayal. His actions underscored the importance of vigilance, integrity, and courage in protecting the revolution. The soldiers who uncovered André's plot and secured West Point demonstrated that honor and loyalty could counter treachery. The contrast between Arnold's betrayal and the moral courage of others reinforced the principle that individual choices can affect entire nations, and that integrity is as important as skill in leadership. In the end, Arnold's story became more than a tale of personal failure. It became a lesson in the long-lasting effects of betrayal. It showed that true respect and lasting legacy come not from ambition or temporary gain, but from integrity, loyalty, and steadfast courage. Arnold's life after his betrayal serves as a reminder that choices have consequences far beyond the moment, and that honor lost is nearly impossible to regain. Ultimately, the tale of Benedict Arnold teaches that courage without integrity is fragile. Freedom and achievement demand loyalty and principle. Betrayal may bring temporary rewards, but it leaves scars on reputation, relationships, and history itself, marking a man forever as someone who chose ambition over honor. The story of Benedict Arnold leaves a powerful lesson about choices and consequences. His life shows that courage and skill alone cannot define a person. Integrity and loyalty are equally, if not more, important. Arnold's betrayal became a permanent stain on his legacy, overshadowing all the victories and bravery he had once displayed. The admiration he had earned in battles was replaced with distrust and contempt, proving that a single act of treachery can erase years of honor. Even after joining the British, Arnold never found true satisfaction. He had rank and wealth, but he lacked respect and genuine recognition. The accomplishments he had hoped to gain through betrayal could not replace the trust and friendship he had destroyed. He lived with the constant reminder that ambition without principle brings isolation and regret. No reward could heal the damage done to his name or undo the consequences of his choices. The Americans remembered Arnold as a cautionary tale. His betrayal was recounted in letters, speeches, and stories, serving to warn future generations about the dangers of letting personal gain outweigh loyalty. Soldiers and citizens alike learned that one person's ambition could threaten an entire cause and that moral courage is essential to leadership. Arnold's actions highlighted the importance of vigilance, integrity, and the bravery of those who acted to stop him. The contrast between Arnold's self-serving decisions and the courage of others, like the soldiers who captured André, made the lesson clear: honor and principle can counter deceit. Even in moments of great danger, the dedication of loyal patriots ensured that the revolution survived. Their actions preserved lives, strategy, and the nation's future, showing that integrity and courage are stronger than treachery. Arnold's story also teaches that reputation is fragile. Years of accomplishments and victories can be destroyed in an instant by one poor choice. Recognition and reward, if pursued at the cost of loyalty, cannot replace the respect earned through honesty and bravery. His life illustrates that betrayal has lasting consequences, not only for oneself but also for the people and nation affected. Ultimately, the tale of Benedict Arnold emphasizes that true legacy is built on integrity, loyalty, and steadfast courage. Ambition without ethics leads to ruin, while loyalty and honor create lasting respect. Freedom, achievement, and leadership demand moral principle alongside skill and bravery. The mark of betrayal remains long after any temporary gain, reminding all that decisions define a person's place in history. In the end, Arnold's life serves as a timeless lesson: courage alone is not enough, and ambition without principle brings downfall. Loyalty, honesty, and moral courage leave a legacy that endures, while betrayal leaves scars that history never forgets. Every choice matters, and true greatness is measured by integrity as much as by action.